Hello, everybody. Welcome back to our second top four match of the Pokémon 2020 Malmö Regional Championships event today, day 2. And who do we have coming up next now?
We have our winner from the previous round, Mattie again.
Mattie Morgan.
Mattie Morgan,
Mattie
indeed.
Morgan.
Indeed. Sorry, guys, had a little bit of a brain closure down there. It's still going on. Apparently, it's been a long tournament for us all.
It really has been, but it's okay. Ben, I was going to call you Matty there, but it's okay, Ben. Don't worry about it. Yes, so we've got our top 4 coming up right now, and both of our competitors are very, very good. Obviously, they are in top 4. We've got Alexandre Lissardy representing France today, and he's done astoundingly well. Honestly, this player has been really, really consistent. Today he is bringing the Togekiss, Arcanine, Tyranitar, Excadrill, Rotom-Wash, and surprisingly Serena that we don't actually see as often.
Yeah, indeed, and he has some accomplishments. We can't see them on the screen here, but he made the top 32 of the EUIC in London, I believe, in the 2018 season. Top 4 of the Nashville Open in the World Championships in the 2018 season as well. So a great couple of results there. Second in the Harrogate Regional Championships in the 2019 season, and second in the Lille Special Event special event in the 2019 season as well. So some real strong finishes here, and no surprise to see that he is going to be making it all the way to top 4 in this tournament. And great to see some representation from France as well.
Oh, definitely.
Not a nation that we see lots and lots of VGC players coming through from, but they are a great crowd and great competitors in this event.
Oh, definitely. I mean, we do have like other names such as like Hippolyte as well, where he went ahead and he won. He actually won one of the special events as well in 2019, I believe.
The Cologne.
The Cologne, yes,
regional
exactly.
championship.
But right now we're going straight on to Mattie Morgan as well. Mattie, so far we have said that it is his first top cut of a regional level event. And right now, obviously, he's bringing that Durant, Milotic, Torracat, Tyranitar, Sylveon, and Gothitelle that we did actually see earlier today as our first featured match too.
He did, and looking at the record there, squeaking in with a 6-2 record, but showing that it doesn't matter what happened in day 1. You make it to day 2, you can do it. But here we are going straight into team preview. This is your second top 4 match. Yeah,
so it's a very interesting matchup right here. Obviously, so far we've been seeing a lot of Trick Room variants, to be honest. It's not as heavy of a Trick Room influence right now between both teams, to be honest with you. Obviously, Mattie does have the Gothitelle as an option with Trick Room, but going through the teams, Alexandre does have Excadrill, the Togekiss, Tyranitar, Rotom-Wash, Arcanine, and Serena, so he does have a Sandpool with a Togekiss on the side, because why not? It's a really solid Pokemon. I mean,
Indeed.
And we do have the Durant, Milotic, Torracat, Tyranitar, Gothitelle, and Sylveon from Mattie, so very high offense, kind of octane mode coming from Mattie, to be honest with you, because he does have a really good core in. Milotic can kind of fend for itself. It could also like switch in, for example, for any fire type moves, or kind of if it is a coil type set, should I say, it can kind of like increase its longevity within this match and set.
And also make sure those hypnosises that we've seen it run so many times in this tournament and previous, just make sure they land, and make sure that usually Dynamax Pokemon don't get all of these free turns, but here we are going into turn 1. Let's see what these players have led.
So we do see the Torracat coming out, and the Tyranitar from Mattie's side, and the Rotom-Wash with the Togekiss as its chosen partner from Alexandre's side.
So Torracat showing its Intimidate. Doesn't need to evolve into that well-known Incineroar to get Intimidate. It's already got it there. Pure fire typing rather than fire and dark type, so going to be resisting Dazzling Gleams coming off from this Togekiss, and that could be important, but equally still going to be quite under threat from this Rotom-Wash. Torracat is a Pokemon that's slightly faster than its evolution Incineroar, and so may be able to outspeed the Rotom and Togekiss, maybe launch out a U-turn or something of that nature, but also gets access to Fake Out. So if Alexandre doesn't decide to go for a Dynamax, maybe Mattie decides to fake out into the correct slot.
Yes.
If Alexandre does decide to go for a Dynamax, could be getting that Tyranitar in a great position to start dealing out some big damage to that Togekiss and Rotom.
Exactly, and we do know also that Torracat does have access to Snarl, so we could have potentially seen that coming out too as an option, but we actually see the Togekiss from Alexandre's side switching out for the Excadrill, trying to take advantage of that sand stream that had been set up from Tyranitar, and we see the first Dynamax of the game and the set coming in the form of Rotom Wash from Alexandre's side, threatening highly both Torracat and potentially Tyranitar, but there is the thought of maybe a weakness policy could be set if a Max Geyser does come out onto the Tyranitar.
Exactly that, and this Sandstorm is still in effect, so
yes.
Tyranitar is going to be taking even less damage than normal from that Hydro Pump as we see it go for its Dynamax form, double its HP, make sure it takes as little damage as possible from those big attacks from the Rotom. We'll see how these players have decided to target this turn.
Oh, so we actually see a U-turn, U-turn coming straight off the bat, off from Mattie's side, wanting to proc that weakness policy way before the Rotom. It wants to even target into it. Obviously, really smart move coming from Mattie's side, well planned out, because he is able to pivot out the Torracat, potentially for a Pokemon in the back, whether it can resist or just help his board positioning, seeing that Excadrill actually switch at the beginning of this turn. And we do see a Sylveon coming in from Mattie's end, so it'll be... and a shiny one, of course. Love the animation, to be honest. And we actually see a Max Geyser come out from the Rotom. Who does it target? It targets the Tyranitar, and it actually takes it down to just below half of its HP. It is, of course, super effective, but most importantly as well, it is bringing that rain right now, but the Tyranitar hasn't moved yet, and that is what we see next with the Max Rockfall. It is wanting to once again reset. Oh, wow! What was that? That was... wow, that was incredible. I'm sorry, it just hit the one-hit KO straight off onto the Rotom Wash, and it wasn't even a critical hit.
It wasn't. Yeah, exactly. Showing that weakness policy in great effect. And we did see the Max Geyser coming out on the Tyranitar. Hey, it had already been procced by the Torracat, so no second weakness policy activation there for the for it, and showing exactly why it's so powerful. And so Rotom goes back to its trainer, replaced by the Tyranitar. Excadrill coming out onto the field is going to be absolutely vital for Alexandre to really do something in this turn. Excadrill is able to threaten potentially a KO on the Tyranitar, but also a big KO on that Sylveon, getting access to big steel moves. We have seen the Rotom already Dynamax for Alexandre, so not going to be able to see the Excadrill, which quite commonly, especially early in this format in Series 2, was one of the most common Pokemon to go for its Dynamax form. But hey, it may not need that. It may be just that the Sylveon switching out to the Torracat and protecting that Tyranitar.
So really interested to see the actual Torracat coming out. Now it does actually get a -1 attack stat drop, both on the Tyranitar and the Excadrill, and we do see a Max Guard coming out from that Tyranitar, trying to actually evade the Earthquake coming out from... oh wow, we actually see the Earthquake does potentially proc the weakness policy out from Alexandre's side on his Tyranitar. So very interesting play right there. The Tyranitar does come out with the Rock Slide. Obviously, it does not go into the Dynamax Tyranitar on Mattie's side, but it is enough to take out the Torracat from Mattie's end.
Yeah, so we've seen two weakness policies activate from Tyranitar in this turn. Both activated by the partners rather than by their opponents.
Yes,
so,
exactly.
You're seeing the effect of how these players have decided to work around their own items and make sure those items get activated. Because, you know, if an item doesn't get activated, there's no point having it on the Pokemon.
Very true.
We've got the Gothitelle coming in from Mattie's side of the field, so going to make sure that that Excadrill and that Tyranitar aren't able to switch out in this turn. Maybe we'll see a fake out coming out from the Gothitelle. That's exactly what we see onto that Tyranitar. Yeah,
so the Tyranitar is not going to be able to move this turn, and we see an Earthquake being able to pick up the KO onto the Tyranitar on Mattie's end and being able to neutralize Mattie's option for Dynamaxing, and also, of course, getting that vital chip damage off onto the Gothitelle. yeah, onto the Dothtel.
Yeah, a really big turn there. We saw the critical hit coming out from the Excadrill onto Mattie's Tyranitar. So probably matted, probably not going to be able to pick up the knockout without that critical hit.
Yep.
So a really good turn there for Alexandre and something that puts him back in the driving seat. We have got Gothitelle potentially able to set up that Trick Room now. Does have to worry about Tyranitar, but we have seen that Sylveon go for a quick attack. So certainly Tyranitar's in range of that, and that's exactly what we see.
Yeah, so exactly what you said. The quick attack from the Sylveon, which you don't usually actually see being able to pick up a KO on the Tyranitar, does actually happen before our eyes, and we see the Excadrill go ahead from Alexandre's side and hit a Iron Head into the Sylveon, taking it down well below the 50%, half of its HP, should I say, and the Trick Room being set from the Gothitelle on Mattie's end.
Yeah, the big question is what's the last Pokemon for Alexandre? We've got Trick Room set up for Mattie. Definitely somewhere that he wants to be. Togekiss coming in from Alexandre. And it is going to be down to whether or not the Hyper Voice is able to pick up the knockout onto Excadrill, still at maximum HP, as is the Togekiss that's just switched in. So, you know, Mattie's got an uphill battle here. He's not going to be able to... he's going to have to, you know... chip away at both of these Pokemon, but he's got to do that under threat of Iron Head.
Exactly, and we do see a Follow Me coming out from the Togekiss, and a Yawn coming out from Sylveon as well on Mattie's end, being able to potentially get that Togekiss to take a nap in the next turn, and we see a Psychic coming out from Gothitelle too, being able to actually get not only Chip, but a special defense drop on the Togekiss, which might be vital, and we see the Sylveon being able to be taken out from Excadrill's Iron Head from Alexandre's end.
Yeah, it doesn't need, even though it's had that Intimidate, 2 Iron Heads is definitely enough to finish the job. And now it's Gothitelle versus the world, and this Gothitelle has Psychic, which is not very effective on Excadrill. So even if that Togekiss goes to sleep next turn, Gothitelle's going to be able to do very minimal damage. Mattie sees that that's the case, decides to forfeit and go into Game 2. So congratulations to Alexandre, and very well played to both players there.
Yeah, so, I mean, that was a solid Game 1 coming out from Alexandre's side. I do think that Mattie does have to try to make some adjustments going into Game 2 because... at the current moment, I think Alexandre was able to well position himself. The Torracat from Mattie's end, it had potential, most definitely. We did see a U-turn coming out, but it didn't really matter other than the pivoting option, which actually was a Sylveon coming in, even though Mattie had already seen the Excadrill switch turn 1 immediately.
Yeah, it was a very interesting switch there from Mattie, and not something that you normally see bringing in a Pokemon that's weak to something on the field. But equally, you know, maybe it didn't matter which one that Mattie brought in, because he just wanted to switch it back out for that Torracat in the next turn and make sure that Intimidate got onto the field. Of course, we're seeing the way that both of these players are playing, definitely wanting to activate their weakness policy, and we see Alexandre is not worried about having to, you know, Earthquake himself and do lots of damage. And if anything, really that Intimidate helped Alexandre out, because it allowed the Tyranitar on his side of the field to take 2 Earthquakes instead of 3 Earthquakes instead of just 2. You saw it living there on 14 HP and having to be finished off by that quick attack from Sylveon. Well, if it wasn't on the field anymore, it wouldn't have been such of a threat. So,
very true.
You know, you've got a little bit of a backwards and forwards going on between these two players' strategies and how they're approaching, making sure they're not taking as much damage, but in this case, making sure that his opponent's not taking as much damage on himself.
Yes. I think you got that well. You got that definite well. So, yeah, so, I mean, it's tough because, once again, we do see such high-level players at this stage, of course. Top 4, you're literally potentially 2 or 3 games away from getting into the final. That is definitely what every single player wants, especially from such a big regional event level too. And right now you can see top plays, you can see top board positioning as well. I think board positioning is super key, being able to see, have the insight, to see 2 or even 3 turns ahead of the game and try to understand, okay, there are a couple of options my opponent can do, but what can I do in contrary to those.
Exactly that. So we're coming back into team preview. We're going to be going into game 2 now of your second top 4 match. We have Alexandre on the left-hand side of your screen with Excadrill, Togekiss, Tyranitar, Rotom Wash, Arcanine, and Sarina, with Mattie on the right-hand side of your screen sporting that Durant, Milotic, Torracat, Tyranitar, Gothitelle, and Sylveon.
I mean, I feel like Torracat has such good potential. I completely agree, in a way, with Mattie's turn 1 choice of going for the U-turn. At least he's able to pivot. He's got an Intimidate. He could try to recycle the Intimidate. But I think right now it doesn't have the 100% best matchup. We've got Excadrill coming from Alexandre's side. We've got Tyranitar. We've got Rotom Wash. We've got some options there. We even have Arcanine, for crying out loud as well, where it can try to like really say, okay, Torracat, what are you going to do against me? Cat versus Dodd. Dodd is potentially going to be a favorite here, but only because it's a bit bigger. But my point is, in the end of the day, it's kind of restricted. Its pivoting capability is extraordinary. It is really good. It does have good base speed, but Mattie really has to rethink this. You have to really try to approach it.
He does, and something I'm just thinking, looking at the team compositions there, is maybe something like Sylveon Torracat could be a really good option for Mattie. Start launching those hyper voices off. We didn't really see Mattie take most advantage of that Sylveon in the last game. Maybe he decides to switch it up and use that, but we're going into turn 1 now. We're seeing a completely different switch up. We are seeing the Tyranitar still, but instead of that Torracat, we're seeing the Gothitelle coming out turn 1.
Very interesting. So, yeah, quite a few things right now. Mattie is potentially opting for the Trick Room. Just like you said, he might have the Sylveon in the back. He wants to be able to take advantage of its sheer power. And we do see Togekiss, Rotom Wash coming out from Alexandre's end, where he can try to adjust. That's a bit more of a flexible kind of lead, because, sure, if you want to try to bring Torracat back in, I've got Rotom Wash. I've got Togekiss, which is a natural redirector. It can potentially get max airstreams if you're trying to, like, beat my speed or something like that. But actually, we're going to see the Gothitelle switch out for the Milotic.
We are Milotic coming in for that Gothitelle. Going to be maybe resisting something like a Max Geyser coming out from Rotom Wash, as we see the first Dynamax of Game 2 coming out from Alexandre. Let's see if it's the Rotom again. Yes, it is going to be launching out some really powerful attacks here.
Yeah, definitely. So we could be seeing a resetting of the weather, but we did actually see previously in Game 1 that it did outspeed the Tyranitar. So Tyranitar, if it will be Dynamaxing here, which it potentially looks like it will be actually, it will be resetting the weather, which could be to advantage of Alexandre as well, because we never saw Mold Breaker coming out, which does imply it could potentially be a Sand Rush. So,
Sand Rush variant, yeah, exactly that. But the real decision here that Mattie will have made is whether to target down that Togekiss or target down that Rotom Wash. Max Darkness coming out from the Rotom, going to be doing a lot of damage to that Milotic, dropping its special defense, but that is going to absolutely activate the competitive ability from Milotic. So if Togekiss isn't able to follow up and knock out this Milotic, that Milotic is going to be doing so much damage.
So much damage indeed. And we do see an Air Slash coming out from Alexandre's Togekiss into the Milotic, actually taking it down quite a fair bit. It only has a bit of HP left. And now we see a Max Rockfall coming out from Tyranitar. Is it able to pick up the KO? And it does, in fact, pick up the KO on Alexandre's Togekiss, being able to get rid of that Pokemon for this game.
It is, but that Max Darkness is going to come into effect now. Both the Milotic and the Tyranitar are at one stage of reduced special attack here. So Max Geyser coming out from the Rotom, and we're seeing all of that damage coming out from it. Will it be enough to pick up the knockout on Tyranitar in its Gigantamax form? Potentially not, but in combination with this Excadrill, it might be able to do the job. So Mattie is going to have to readjust, maybe make sure that his Tyranitar isn't affected so much by the Earthquake. Could be switching that Milotic straight back out into Torracat, getting that Intimidate off onto the field, stopping that Excadrill being such a big threat. And we saw that Max Rockfall at 2+ attack after the weakness policy was activated on Tyranitar was enough to pick up the KO on that Rotom.
Exactly, but we are not going to see that for this turn at least. Max Guard coming out from the Dynamax Tyranitar. We see the Earthquake coming out from the Excadrill on Alexandre's side. Obviously not going to be able to affect its partner Rotom due to its ability Levitate, and it is able to pick up the KO on Milotic on Mattie's end and actually try to go for the Max Geyser, of course, being able to take advantage of maybe a potential weather change or just in general damage on the Tyranitar, but is going to be not going to be able to pull that off.
No, it's not, and quite a good play here from Mattie, deciding, there's different ways to bring your Pokemon in. It may be that at that health range, Mattie decided that Milotic was not going to be able to do what it needed to do in the rest of this game, and it's actually better to just let the Milotic go down so that Gothitelle can come in. It can provide that fake-out pressure, maybe launch the Max Rockfall now into the Rotom. Both of these Pokemon are on their last turn of Dynamax as well, so that's going to play a big part in what happens in the later turns. When that HP number is reduced again, it may be that Hydro Pump, rather than Max Geyser, is enough to pick up the knockout. But of course, Alexandre is going to have to be nervous about that Gothitelle potentially setting up a Trick Room, changing the speeds of the Pokemon going forward in the next few turns.
But we are going to see a fake out coming out onto the extra drill from the Gothitelle, being able to flinch it for the rest of the turn, and a Max Darkness coming out from Rotom Wash, not being able to pick up the KO on the Gothitelle, being able to survive on 18 HP, even though it is at -1 special defense.
It's not at -1, but the Tyranitar is at -2.
Yes, it actually is indeed, and we do see a Max Rockfall coming out from the Tyranitar into the Rotom, not being able, obviously, to pick it off from the field, but being able to do substantial damage. And Gothitelle does have roughly 12 HP left, also from the residual sand damage.
It does, and both of these Pokemon going back to their normal forms, they're going to be not in their Dynamax form anymore. Gothitelle living with just a sliver of health, so if Mattie wants to and Alexandre allows it, going to be able to set up a Trick Room maybe, but it's going to be down to Alexandre to decide whether he decides that that's a threat, whether he just goes again for the Earthquake next to that levitating Rotom Wash, just to do some major damage to the Tyranitar, activate this weakness policy, maybe follow up with a Hydro Pump at 2- special defense. That may be enough to pick up the KO onto Tyranitar. That is if it hits it as well.
Exactly.
Hydro Pump not known for being the most accurate move in the world, and you do have to roll the dice sometimes and just see what comes out of the wash.
And we do see out of the wash. You set me up for failure there. We see an Earthquake coming out from Excadrill, being able to dispose of the Gothitelle whilst dealing leaving the Tyranitar just below half of its HP, also proccing its weakness policy. But we have seen from game 1 that Rotom Wash does outspeed the Tyranitar. Is it able to... Oh, it doesn't even go for the Hydro Pump. It goes for the Thunderbolt. Is it enough to pick it up? And it is enough to actually pick up the KO due to the fact that it was at -2 special defense from all of those Max Darkness.
Yeah, absolutely commanding position there from Alexandre, using the fact that he is the faster of the two of all 4 Pokemon on the field with his Excadrill and Rotom, correctly picking Thunderbolt as a move. Sometimes you've got to decide whether Thunderbolt is enough to pick up the KO or not. This time it was, and Sylveon comes back in, does go for the Protect, so we'll see what goes into the Sylveon. It is that Iron Head coming out, and the Thunderbolt from Rotom Wash.
Yeah, so, I mean, at the current moment, right, Excadrill was able to position itself quite well. Obviously, Alexandre was. Didn't opt for the Hydro Pump, right? Sand was still in play, so Tyranitar technically had that 0.1 boost, but of course it had -2 after that. We see the Sylveon go for the double Protect, being able to actually pull it off, whilst we see the same moves, I am assuming. Yes, the Iron Head from the Excadrill and the Thunderbolt coming out from the Rotom Wash straight into Sylveon.
He is, and Protect has quite a lot of PP, so does Iron Head and Thunderbolt. Mattie's technically going for his outs, but Protect gets less and less likely to work as we see it fail in this turn. Iron Head goes off, leaves the Sylveon on low HP, and the Thunderbolt connects, knocking out the Sylveon, and we have your winner and your second finalist for this Pokemon 2020 Malmö Regional Championships. It is Alexandre representing France, going to be facing off against Tobias Kaczynski in the finals of this event.
Very, very exciting final that we've got set up for you, ladies and gents. It will obviously be coming soon, but what a set. I mean,
absolutely.
I mean, I think that Alexandre did really well in understanding the game positioning, the board positioning, everything, because he had the correct Pokemon at the correct time in the correct position.
Exactly that, and I just love the fact that he managed to win the game while attacking his own Pokemon.
Exactly.
I mean, that's just the mark of both the matchup and the player.
Yes.
You know, Alexandre looked like he was pretty well on the front foot for most of the match, and you know, that can come down to the Pokemon that he's selected compared to the Pokemon that Mattie selected for this event. But you know, Mattie did everything that he could to stay in the game.
Yep.
He tried to use that Dynamax Tyranitar to great effect. He really took advantage of the weakness policy on it, certainly in Game 1, bringing it down to the wire. Not quite able to convert that into a win, but fantastically well played from both players.
No, definitely. And we will be soon actually having Alexandre come to the desk as well for his interview, which we really want to see his insight as well in the actual game itself, in the set, should I say. And please stay tuned, and we shall be back very soon.
trust. Yeah, no, I don't wanna waste what's left. And on we'll go through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go. Finding life along the way, melodies we haven't played. No, I don't want no rest. Echoing around these walls, fighting to create a song. I don't wanna miss a beat. And on we'll go through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We do have our winner of our second top four match of today, of day two, of course, at the Pokémon 2020 Malmö Regional Championships. Alexandre Lissardy, right over here. We do have Thomas joining us, of course, just in case there's any sort of like Alexandre's needs a bit of help, just because with English and translations, and you'll understand. So there's no problem. Alexandre, how do you feel that game one went? Did you feel you had a good matchup? Do you think it was a bit tough for you?
Je pense que j'avais un bon match-up.
I think I had a good matchup.
Yeah.
Il avait du mal à gérer Rotom Wash Life Orb.
He had a bit of trouble to deal with Life Orb Rotom, Wash Rotom,
Puisque je peux one-shot sur it.
because I can one-shot.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Because you did have, we didn't see Matt's Darkness come out game one or anything like that. We did see that in game two, where you're just trying to prepare yourself a bit better to what Mattie could have brought. We did see in game two that Mattie did bring the Gothtel. It looked like he was going to try to go for Trick Room, maybe. What were your thoughts going into game two and actually seeing that lead?
J'avais très peur de Trick Room,
I was very scared of Trick Room
Okay.
puisque ma team est plutôt rapide.
because my team is a very fast team,
Yeah.
Et sa team a quelques atouts sous Trick Room,
and his team, my opponent's team, can do very well under Trick Room
Yeah.
grâce à Sylveon et Tyranny.
because of Sylveon and Tyranitar.
True. When you saw that your opponent didn't bring Torracat, for example, in game two, do you think that was a bit better from his end, only because matchup? Do you think that maybe that made your job a bit better because there wasn't Intimidate, there wasn't Fake Out, or anything like that, so your extra drill could have a bit more space?
Je pense que ça m'a rendu la tâche plus facile.
Yeah, I think it made it easier for me.
Oh, so it did definitely. That's fair. And what about the Tita? You just wanted to try to prioritize taking it out slowly before maybe, for example, it being able to deal enough damage onto your Rotom, where we saw got one-hit KO'd when it had weakness policy. So game two, it wasn't able to do that straight away, just like it did in game one. So were you just trying to slowly chip it away a bit, not directly hit a max geyser? What were your thoughts with that?
Ah, exactement, je voulais vraiment éviter que le Titar active la weakness policy.
That's exactly what I wanted to do. I didn't want to activate weakness policy.
Fair, yeah, because it is such a threat, isn't it? Especially if Gothtel could maybe get Trick Room up. So that's perfect. We're only going to cut the interview very short because you've got the final, Mr. Lissardy. Very huge congrats. Honestly, It's such a highly anticipated final. I'm very excited. I hope everyone else is excited as me too. And honestly, I wish you all the best. And thank you so much for the interview. Thank you so much, Thomas, as well. I really appreciate it. And we're just going to go for a very short break, and we will be back with the final of Pokemon 2020 Malmö Regional Championships. Stay tuned.